This week on Movie Time Machine, four friends and fledgling entrepreneurs, knowing that there's something bigger and more innovative than the different error-checking devices they've built, wrestle over their new invention.
This is Primer.
Yeah, that. Yes.
Welcome to Movie Time Machine, your retro movie review podcast where we take movies from the past and relive them in the present. This week's movie, Primer, released in the year 2004, directed by Shane Carruth, starring Shane Carruth and David Sullivan. I'm your Time Machine host, Chad, and let me introduce you to my Time Machine co-host. First, I want to introduce you to Mr. Scaredy Pants himself. It's Jamie.
The letters, I see them, but I can't write them.
He lives in the entertainment past more than a present. It's Casey. What's up?
Yo, after this, I'm gonna hop in the box so I can do the podcast over again later because I think I need a second try.
And our living encyclopedia of movie knowledge and NES cart collector, it's James.
My buddy came over the other day and we watched the new Mortal Kombat, and I didn't realize after he left, he brought me his Nintendo in a Target bag and just didn't say anything and left it on my counter because he knew I would take it. I'm like, so my wife goes, "What's this?" And I go, "Oh my god!" She goes, "Why?"
Awesome.
Hold on, I'm sharing Nintendos? That's brilliant.
He just brought me his NES, his system, because he was the same buddy. I already have the majority of his games that he was trying to limit his collection, and then he gave me a Nintendo system as well.
He must have multiples or whatever.
I'm guessing he has.
Off, sure.
I'd like to assume yes, as we all do, right? As we all do.
Brilliant, beautiful.
That's a good friend.
That's a nice friend.
I know. I was an idiot and sold mine a long time ago.
Well, Chad, I have another for you. You can have it.
I don't have any carts left either. So.
Oh, don't worry. I have multiple certain games. I'll just give you all my duplicates.
Wow, what a good friend.
What a good
friend.
All right. Before we get into our movie of the week, and I want to let you guys know what I've been doing since last time we got together. I've been watching me some The Bad Batch on Disney Plus. I'm 3 episodes in, so pretty good so far. I like how they're doing some things, kind of tying up some loose ends. Someone maybe say plot holes in the Star Wars universe, so some pretty interesting ways to make a lot of sense. So been enjoying that so far. Especially the first episode was over an hour long, maybe, but yeah,
it was 75 minutes, and I think I remember texting you going, "Are all episodes going to be this long, like Sherlock style?" Which I wasn't mad about, but I just need to prepare myself for it.
Yeah, and they weren't, but that would have been cool if they're all like that. Damn. But sorry,
Chad, I cut you off. For the uninformed, this is an offshoot of the Clone Wars.
Thank you.
Yes. Yep. So Clone Wars, what was it, season 6 it ended, then it came back for a 7th season recently, I think just last year. And the Bad Batch, they were introduced, I think it was the first 3 or 4 episodes of that final season. So, but
wait, hold on. Yeah. So should you watch the Clone Wars first?
Maybe if you just watch those first 3 or 4 episodes of season 7, I don't think so. I haven't watched all of Clone Wars either, so.
I haven't watched any of Clone Wars, and Chad is the one who said, I don't think so. And then I just went for it, and I'm like, hey, if I don't know what's going on, I'm probably going to shut it off anyways, right? And if you get the Star Wars background in general, you can get on board with what's going on. So if you've seen the movies, you're good.
Yeah. Good call.
I'm like, oh, what's going on? Oh, these clones don't have to listen to orders. Perfect. I'm caught up.
Yeah. I was gonna spoil Mandalorian season 2 tonight, but since I just wanted to pass the baton and hear what else everyone else has been doing, I'm gonna hold and wait till next episode.
Ooh, it's big of you.
Well, Jamie, don't leave us in all this tension.
No,
Did you finish The Mandalorian?
I have not finished The Mandalorian. Chad, you had every right to spoil it because an agreement's an agreement, but I appreciate that. I've been watching season 2 of The Wire, and I regret nothing. That's what I've been watching. James, what have you been watching?
I watched season 3 of Westworld, and like all the data breaches, and I feel like you guys are all on board with everyone's stealing our data, and I'm not getting paid for it. Or no, I guess you're not like mad like that, but
no, that's me. That's me.
Okay, that's just okay. I didn't want to
Totally
generalize. I knew Casey for sure, but I didn't want to
I'm a curmudgeon.
But I guess in the like the big picture of things, I'm like, okay, so like, why do I care if somebody takes like what I'm watching and my data and stuff? And in Westworld season 3, like they really take it to the next level with why that could potentially be important. And so I'll preface with spoiler with just a very minimal piece of it in there, but with the data in season 3 of Westworld, they basically the world has already decided your fate is what they kind of show is one of the main characters shows another main character like, hey, look at this is your page, and gives him the iPad, and he's reading it, and it's like, this is how he's going to die. He's going to do this, and then he's going to jump off like a pier and kill himself because of A, B, and C. And like they've already decided his fate because of like what decisions they're allowing him to make. Like they're like, yep, he'll never be a doctor. Nope, he'll never amount to anything. He's not worth it. Like, and so they're already picking and choosing like who's going, kind of like I'd say Winter Soldier style. Like they're already choosing like, hey, who is going to help this world and who is just going to be a deadbeat, and we're not going to spend any more time on this person, and therefore already control what's going to happen next. So yeah, it gets interesting. And like I said, it's really deep and far out there, but it also made me go, huh, okay, I kind of get it. It's just in the same sense of what I talk about. Man, I like Diet Coke Cherry, and then next thing I know, on my phone has an ad for Diet Coke Cherry going, did you know it's at Walmart for this much? Like, so like, I don't know, I get it, but it was a lot of fun to watch. So I definitely recommend Westworld if you hadn't watched it. Season 2 kind of started getting in a weird, weird storyline, but I think they really circled it back around for season 3.
I was first season, but I couldn't. I guess I wasn't ready or prepared to do like the season 2 or season 3. I kind of just
did you start season 2?
Yeah,
and you weren't. So that's I see where you were, because I finished season 2, but it absolutely was slow for the first few. Mm-hmm. I think it wasn't until the last 3 or 4 episodes, specifically the one where, oh man, you're like seeing it from, I think it's the whole episode about I think it's one of the native dudes or one Native American man. It's one of it's a robot in the park, right? And they like focus on him. It's like a weird split episode. James, you know what I'm talking about, right? That one where it was just completely removed. From that episode on, I was like totally sucked back in. Those last, I think that's 3 or 4 at the end. Came full circle for me. But I totally agree, though. The first few are super slow, really confusing, and kind of like, what are you establishing? But then I think they circled back and kind of closed it out really. I think it closed out really well. I want to see season 3. I just haven't watched it yet.
Cool. Case, what are you watching?
You know what? We can count that as my segment. I haven't been watching a lot. To be honest, I've been a lot of my free time has been dedicated to other hobbies of mine. I've been goofing around with my modded Nintendo Switch, updating software, doing some homebrew stuff with that, and a lot. Honestly, not to get super nerdy, but I've been spending a lot of time goofing around with cryptocurrency things like Dogecoin, and I'm into NBA Top Shot, so I've been watching a lot of YouTube junk on things like that. So.
Did you pull any
super nerdy
NFTs, stuff, Casey?
No NFTs. I did just actually, literally, as we started this podcast, ripped a common Top Shot pack, and got a bunch of comments. Nothing great, nothing worth any money, but no, I'm just watching Dogecoin prices now. We need Papa Daddy Elon to go tweet some more stuff to drive the price up. That stupid son of a bitch.
Oh god,
SNL will have him back.
Hold on. Let me stand on my soapbox. Well, SNL, it tanked, right? As soon as SNL happened, it started going down, and then he was on a bit in Weekend Update, where there was like a joke where they were asking his character, he was playing some crypto character, and they asked him like, well, what is Dogecoin? And he would ramble on about it's this feature, technology of transferring money, yada, yada, yada. And they would go, okay, cool, I get that, but what is Dogecoin? Like, that was the joke. They did that 3 or 4 times. And finally, he said, Elon says something, and the guy goes, oh, so it's a hustle. And Elon goes, yeah, it's a hustle. And then price goes down like 50%, like 10, which sounds silly. It went down like 10 cents in a matter of minutes. But 10 cents, if you're sitting on, 30,000 Dogecoin or something like that, is going to lose you a lot of money. So he did that, but recently, and not to continue on this nerdy thing, he said something about them not taking, Tesla's not going to take Bitcoin, which is because Bitcoin is really bad environmentally. There's a lot of places that mine Bitcoin and run the transactions that are run on fossil fuels, so it's really not good for the environment, yada, yada, yada. And he said something about how, they want to use a more efficient cryptocurrency. And fortunately, one of the more efficient cryptocurrencies is the stupid meme coin, Dogecoin. So it's a lot of weird stuff going on with crypto. I'm hoping that I'm gambling on Dogecoin, I guess I should say.
Are you?
I don't feel so bad about my Westworld rant anymore.
Yeah, right. No, that's a silly cryptocurrency rant. You can cut most of that, Chad, if you'd like.
All right, so the movie of the week. Let's get to it. Primer. So we're going to do the movie of the week then. When we're done discussing the film, we are going to chat about our own time travel movie script, movie ideas, if we've all prepared for them. I couldn't come up with one because I'm not smart enough, and I think we'll have James go last because I think he's put a lot of work and effort into his treatment. So,
5 minutes a night for the last week.
Attaboy.
It was like right before bed. It's kind of like it felt like the my wife was like, "Are you done with your book report?" Like kind of thing. but it really felt like
that's awesome.
It felt like I was procrastinating, like where like I would do a little bit before bed, and then I would close the laptop, go to bed, and then think of something during the day, and then do it again at night. like I said, it was like 5 minutes before bed every night. I tried to put thought together. So we'll see how it works out.
Awesome. Yeah, Primer. So this came out October 8th, 2004. It had a budget of $7,000 and it made $545,436. Yeah, its critic reviews it was 72% critic on Rotten Tomatoes with a 79% audience score. Has a 6.9 out of 10 on IMDb, and Metacritic average is 68%.
Chet, could you think of another movie with doubles?
With doubles? That I was trying to think about that, Jamie. And
this is easy. Double Impact.
Double
with Jean-Claude
Impact
Van
with
Damme.
Oh, there you go.
Oh wait, they were
but
twins. Never mind.
That wasn't. You're crossing that with Time Cop.
Oh, there were doubles in Time Cop. You're right. Full circle.
But yeah. So, what do you got? Let's start with
Back
James.
to the Future had doubles. Okay.
Which one had doubles?
The second one.
I think 2 did. Yeah, Marty's in the
Marty and young Marty, man.
Yep, that's right.
So I'm glad you did start with me because I did go down like the trivia rabbit hole in IMDb, but the trivia rabbit hole in IMDb for this movie is like 5 questions, and it was very to the point. Like, hey, it cost $7,000. So I didn't YouTube or really dive deep into what the F was going on in this. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about it because I think kind of like 12 Monkeys, where we were going back and forth on what we think happened, and like Jamie's mind, I think, got blown. This is one where I don't feel like I understand fully what happened at the end. I think I have an idea. So things I liked about this movie was like it definitely felt like it was $7,000 on a budget. Like you could tell by the costuming and the video style and the scenes and actors who are in it. So like for that, I really enjoyed that aspect of it. It felt like very Clerks in that sense. So it felt indie, and I enjoy those. I enjoy those movies, and especially knowing it cost $7,000 as I'm watching the movie and kind of looking at the IMDb page, it just makes me more intrigued. Like, holy cow! Like, so how did this movie make this much money? And kudos for them. It makes you feel like after watching a movie like this, it feels like, hey, maybe as long as you have a good idea. I mean, this movie was an episode of The Bad Batch. It was like 75 minutes long, not even. Like it was just over an hour, and so it makes it feel like it's obtainable, like with a good story. Be like, hey, it costs $7,000, and I think it's cost this guy 3 years to edit it together, to score it himself with that piano riff that Chad hates, and but like at the end of the day, like crushed it. Like, so I don't know, good for him for the story and the original thought behind it. But here's the things like where I'm lost and I might need some help on it is I don't know, like they're in their garage and they're doing this feels like how Macintosh was built in their garage and like what they're doing and something original, but I don't exactly know what they were trying to build in the first place. But then clearly it looks like they built something to do one thing and it started doing this other thing, like this almost like perpetual energy or whatever machine, and then it turned into something else. And then by the end of this movie, I started getting lost going, okay, because I didn't fully understand the math of, like how they kept on looking at their watches going, okay, if we do this right now, we'll have 6 hours, 13 hours to do it. Yeah, let's do it. Man, it's going to be a long day. And then they go, about their day where they try not to run it into their doubles. But like by the end of the movie, I'm curious. I'm like, okay, so did we kill one of the originals, or do we have 10 of the originals running around now? Like, that's the part where I got a little lost. Like, did the originals did other clones decide to have free will and thought and know because they knew too much and started building their own machines, and that's where we got all effed up. I don't know. So after that, I enjoyed it enough. I don't need to. This is like not one I need to purchase. Like other time machine movies, I'm usually all about, but I think maybe that might be just more of the special effects and guts and glamour that I love so much of them. Where this one was really basic and to the point, was trying to have this really smart storyline. In the same sense, I got lost, but I'm sure if I watched it again, I would start to pick up on things that I kind of forgot about. So, and whoever wants to take over.
Yeah, what'd you think, Casey? I think you seemed pretty excited when I saw you earlier today to talk about this film.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked to talk about this one because I will tell you right now that I felt that exact way as James just described when I finished this film. I was like, hold on, wait, what the heck? Like, I didn't understand the mechanics behind it or anything. Chad, you linked a video in our group chat. It's on YouTube. It's like primer and illustrated explanation. And I actually had watched that one after watching the movie, and after seeing that, like, I actually have a desire to go back and rewatch this because I like the way in which they kind of explain it, and once you kind of understand kind of the intricacies of how it works and what's going on, I think this is one of the most original time travel movies ever, and I think that's kind of why it has such a cult following, because this is just the concept of it's not time travel as much as you can establish a checkpoint. I think that's kind of how to explain what this movie's about. That no one has the ability to freely travel through time, but what their box does is, I guess I'll explain it a little bit to help James out and maybe anyone else in the pod who's listening who didn't understand it. The crew in the garage were trying to make a refrigerator. They were trying to cool that space more efficiently than another competitor. They had either designs or diagrams. They talk about that in the beginning. They're comparing notes to this other one. They're like, oh, but they did this and that. So they're kind of trying to rip off another refrigerator, but then make it better. And they do this this thing with like magnetic waves and the magnetic field inside the cooling to try to allow the temperature to lower. But what they end up doing is they end up creating this box that everything inside of it goes slightly quantum, I believe, because quantum has that whole concept of on off and it's yada yada. We don't have to talk about quantum, but essentially within the box, it like makes time behave differently, and everything inside the box kind of goes backwards in time. So the way the time travel works is they turn the box on and they leave it there for however long they want to go back in time, and when they get back in the box in the future, they slowly go back in time. So they turn the box on, they go hide in a hotel room for 6 hours, then they go get in the box. So what that's going to do is they're going to pop out when they originally had turned the box on, if that makes sense. Once you're inside of it, they're going backwards in time. So that's why it gets really confusing, because originally they try to limit the amount of exposure they have in the real world when they're waiting, because they're going to go about their day in those 6 hours. Once they go back, they're going to pretend that's the first time they were through it. So they don't want to see people, talk to people, have to explain why they were in one place at 2 a.m. or 2 in the afternoon, but another place miles away at 2:05. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't allow doubles to be there. So that's why they hide in the hotel room. But then after they hide in the hotel room for the amount of time they need to, they can like figure out what happened that day on the stock market, go get in the box and start the day over, and they know what happened at the end of the day in the stock market. So then they can go make bets in the stock market, knowing the outcome, yada, yada, yada. But the thing and I guess the reason I like this movie, not to just keep rambling, is because I think it's actually pretty unique that they just throw you in and they don't explain any of it. And in that YouTube video, they talk about the director and creator, and one of the stars. I don't know which one he is. I think Aaron,
He's
dark-haired,
yeah,
the dark-haired guy, like specifically didn't want to dumb any of the dialogue down, because that kind of gives you that same sense of confusion that they also had. They're playing with this thing, they don't really understand how it works, and they are creating these scenarios where they don't even know who they're talking to. Am I talking to the real person that I was traveling with? Am I talking to you 5 days ago? Or because once they ended up having this failsafe box as well. They had 2 boxes this whole time. Abe made a second box in case something went bad. Well, then Aaron found that, and again, they don't explain any of this, but then Aaron also found the box, and so like they were both using this failsafe to go all the way back to the beginning, and they created all these different loops over and over again. Anyways, I'll stop rambling. I think I do agree with the criticisms. I think it was very low budget. It doesn't hold up super well because of that low budget feel. So the acting wasn't superb. But I think its uniqueness and the way that it tells a story, I think gives, if I have to rank it out of 5 Letterboxd style, I think I'd still give it at least a 3, because it's got me thinking about it days after, right? I'm watching YouTube videos about it days after, looking it up days after. So anything that has that effect on me, I think is a good enough piece of art that I think deserves some sort of rating to justify that, despite the criticisms.
Casey, thank you.
That was a great.
Yeah,
that was a great breakdown, Casey. Yeah.
Okay, good. I thought I was rambling there a little bit, but
no.
I would say that they do try to explain the failsafe. I just don't think they
a little bit. Yeah, it's hard to get though, because you're so confused about everything else at the same time.
Yeah, that's where I think the movie. Well, I think the movie comes off a little pretentious too, but
absolutely.
So Jamie. Your thoughts. You just said you put this in the chat. Primer, it's not my jam. Explain.
So a lot of, I won't retread what James and Casey said, because that was my experience too. I don't understand this. I'm kind of grasping at straws. I get some of it, but not all of it. And I think that as far as an actual movie, like a capital M movie, sit down, I didn't enjoy this. Like, I did not have fun watching this. You know what I mean? There's not a lot as a film to latch onto, visually, and the way they shoot the scenes. I think there were 2 with time travel movies. There's like the oh shit moments, when Marty's picture starts to disappear or whatever, where you start to understand the rules. So the 2 moments for me is when Abe and Aaron are sitting, and Abe pulls out the binoculars, and you first see Abe's double. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? So you know that something's up, but they're not giving you the full picture. The second one is when Aaron gets a call from his wife, and they're trying to figure out, wait, how do cell towers work? Because we're both in this space with this phone. And, those are kind of the 2 mind-blowing moments that make you drop your Coke and say, oh shit, I never thought of that. How does this work with these doubles in this space? But I think more than anything, it was just for me why it didn't click was just the tone. Like I appreciate the fact that they made this movie for $7,000 and they don't dumb it down. Like, props to you. It's awesome, and I think it's a really smart movie. Like I've done nothing but think about this movie since I finished watching it on Wednesday. But that didn't make it a movie that I enjoyed. Like Shane Carruth and I would not hang out in the real world. Does that make sense? You know, like I respect the hell out of this movie, but it's not my style. We're not on the same wavelength. Like, we don't see the world the same way. Do you guys know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know when you speak about tone, that really got me. Like, it just didn't have any. I'm the same way too. I thought like the story and the idea and like the premise was really fucking cool, but it was like it didn't have any like the oh shit moments were just like oh shit, like, but there wasn't a lot of like the emotion of watching this film. It was just kind of flatlined for me. Then on top with that score, man, it was just killing me. That piano, and it was like it didn't feel like, are they trying to make it feel like a dark film?
It felt that way.
But with that score, it was like kind of dark. Then it also had like this little uplifting, like where maybe it should have just been like more like it should have been like more dissident or like minor. Yeah, then it had like So it seems like I should have looked this up. I should have looked up who actually did the score for this film, because it's probably like
Shane Carruth.
Oh, so he.
Yeah, that's
he
what I'm saying.
did it like
he composed it, he directed it, he chopped it up, put it together. Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was just like that's what I loved it. So I can't like really, I don't know, knock him for doing it. I mean, they did it himself. It's like, hey, I know how we can save $500. Like, I don't know, just gonna do some chords.
Yeah, see, I know I'm pronouncing the director's last name wrong too. So it's Carruth. I think I said Carruth, like Babe Carruth.
It might be Carruth. I just took a stab. Yeah, but Chad, to what you were saying, I think what I felt was like, oh my god, they took the romance out of time travel. Like, look at what we invented. Holy shit. There was very little of that. When all other time travel movies, they're kind of in awe of their creation, and I think that was his point. I think that was his point, is that these guys stumbled into it. They don't understand what they have. And like, I really loved your point, Chad, that this is a horror movie, because I agree.
Mm-hmm. No, it definitely feels that way. And then also, I don't know, Jamie, like they didn't have any of the romance of it. No, I agree. But also, what were they going to do? Chroma key it and do a green screen and be like, hey, I'm in New York. I got it done. Let's go do a Broadway show. Like, hey, we made it. We're in Costa Rica.
We can go to the Broadway show, travel back in time, and then sell our tickets.
Yeah, exactly. Like that would have been actually pretty good. Like, that's where they come up with like their first money making scheme is like, let's just do this where we're probably not gonna get in trouble. Oh, dude, it worked. How much did you make? I got arrested for scalping. I don't know. But one thing with this is like, okay, so it cost this much. It made a bunch of money. Like, is this highly seen as the best time travel movie? That's kind of why this movie got chosen for us, right?
Hold on, I'm going to stop you there.
A lot of good things,
because I think we need to debate that, because I don't think this is a time travel movie. I don't think it can be compared to them, and I think that's kind of my thought, is that they don't time travel; they make a checkpoint. This is more like time manipulation.
Well, they still go back in time.
Yeah, kinda. I mean, they can't go back in time. They can repeat things they've lived once they had this idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, They can't go to places they didn't think of this at. So I would say this is as much of a time travel movie as like Interstellar is a time travel movie, because he shoots forward due to gravitational pulls. Right? This is science that allows them to manipulate some moments of time, but it's not really time travel. So I think it's unfair to compare it to like a time travel movie and say, because I agree, if you compare it that way, it absolutely takes the joy and the sparkle out of time travel, because it's super sciencey and mundane and really catastrophic.
I want this to be your bit, Casey. I want this to be like we're like, all right, so how does this go as far as romantic movies go? And you're like, well, Titanic is really more of like the I don't know,
It's a
like the
global
iceberg.
warming movie.
Yeah, it compares to Twister, and it
It's
has
a
like
dark maritime
events.
film
Yep.
that says about the death of the ship. The people
More
really
similar
don't
to
matter.
U571 than
Yeah.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
That's
No,
yeah. So I would like
when
that
you're
to be your
talking
bit,
Titanic,
Casey.
right? It's not the tragedy is the ship. Nobody knows the people's names, but everyone knows the ship's name.
I feel like I have to defend it because I love time travel so much and weird science things.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have to play devil's advocate a bit because I agree with all you guys, and I'm not going to stand this movie so much and say it's the greatest thing ever. I'm going to keep watching it over and over again because honestly, I probably won't revisit it for quite some time. But I do think I got to stand it a bit because of how original and cool of a concept it was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my original conversation was actually going to lean towards, so if this is considered the greatest movie in the genre or whatnot, like that's why we picked it, right? It was highly acclaimed,
You're
kind of
right.
thing, and none of us had seen it.
Mhm.
I'm just kind of looking at the writer director, the dark haired guy in this. He's only made one other movie. Not, I mean, that's probably his prerogative. I don't know what his sitch is, but he only made one other one, and he wrote, produced, scored all that too. This one called Upstream Color in 2013. Otherwise, he hasn't done anything else, which is just kind of shocking to me. I felt like after, I mean, I don't want to go Chris Nolan on it, but when Memento came out, or actually after Following, and then he got a little bit more funding for Memento, then all of a sudden, boom, skyrocketed. And I'm sure Memento probably cost a little bit. I mean, I think what, $13,000-$15,000 instead of $7,000. But still, like, if this was such a like original idea, which it was, and so beloved, or is it beloved because it's a cult classic? But I think the money kind of speaks for itself. Even the opening weekend, it made, what was it, 26 or 56 or something like that, if I remember correctly. I don't know. It's just confusing to me that, like, okay, so what's going on with this guy, or is he just like, I only want to do my own thing, which is good for him. I'm more curious about the director in general, I guess.
Well, my opinion on that is that he has a pretty, basing off this film, it, even though it has a cool premise and a very original, like, script, there's nothing artistic when it comes to like filmography or anything like that. There's no interesting like camera shots. It's a pretty sloppy like film, and I'm not like a film expert either, but I kind of base that on like how when my eye doesn't catch these like weird things, and I just felt like the entire film, it was just I was being distracted by other things, so I didn't like the shots just didn't seem, I don't know. It really did feel like, a very low budget film, and maybe he just, versus like when you talk about Following or Memento, I mean, those are, again, I don't like Memento that much. It's a good film, but the filmography, I mean, there's so many other things about that versus just like the like cool story and original story to that too.
Well, Chad, I think I could put your and my hands together on this. I'm looking at Shane's trivia on IMDb. It's got 3. It's dreamed of being a doctor until he was in college, holds a BS in math from Stephen F. Austin State University, and his favorite book is The Great Gatsby.
Oh.
So I think just reading that, and to your point of like, yeah, you're right. It wasn't like beautifully shot or wasn't super creative in that aspect. It was just a story. So this kind of sounds like this was just something fun this guy and his friends were kind of doing. I don't know. They got that.
Yeah.
The blonde guy is an actor. Like, he does other things at this point. But it's like, at the end of the day, it almost seems like if he finished the project or not, it took him 3 years to kind of do it. I think he probably shelved it, went about his day, and then like all of a sudden, had the flu and kind of came back to it, or, got laid off and kind of came back to the project and finally put it together. And then it just kind of became this cult thing. So I don't know. It's
true.
Good,
like
good on him either way.
It probably wasn't his prime. Like being a movie maker, a filmmaker was probably not his like.
Correct. That's kind of what I took at it. Where Nolan's like, I'm bleeding to make sure that the film is still red or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know. That doesn't make any sense.
Whatever that means, but
yeah.
Well, I have an article from IndieWire where they ask him about. It says, you made some headlines last year by declaring that you were quitting filmmaking. Is that still the case? And he says, the short answer is yes. I've got one last project in front of me. I shouldn't say anything about it. Blah blah blah. I'm not going to say I'm doing a project and then hope Paramount gives me a deal or whatever the hell. I'm not doing that anymore. There's 1,000 other things I'm interested in doing in life that I don't talk about. And it just sounds like he doesn't want to play the game, with Hollywood worrying about financing. And I think he wanted to make the projects he wanted to make. And that was that. That would be my guess anyway, based off of this article.
That would make sense. Like, do you remember what was his name? Was it Christopher McQuarrie who did Usual Suspects? That sound familiar? Let's just say it is. I remember that like he did Usual Suspects. He won, Christopher McQuarrie. Yeah, that's right. He did Usual Suspects, and it won Best Screenplay, Original Screenplay at the Oscars. Like, it crushed. Everybody was like, "Guys, are Soze, yeah!" Like, and just freaked out. And like then he didn't do anything for a long time. The studios kept on bugging him, and finally he said, "Fine, you want a movie? I'll write you a movie." And then he did Way of the Gun. Like he did Way of the Gun, and he did it like where it was just so out there and weird that they were like, "Hopefully they'll leave me alone," and that's exactly what happened. Like, I don't know, but I love Way of the Gun.
I've never seen Way of the Gun.
He did Edge of Tomorrow too, it looks like.
Well, and then I think he must have gotten into Scientology because if you look, he's done lots of like he did the Mission Impossible screenplays and he directed the last one. Like he's been all Tom Cruising it up for a little bit. He's back in the game now. But I just remember in like the 90s or late 90s, early 2000s, he kind of wanted nothing to do with it. He's like, no, I made enough money on this. I'm doing my own thing. And he just, I don't know, wanted to write, I'm guessing, but didn't want all this pressure of the studios going, I want to spend this much money on you, but I need a film in 2 years or whatever,
Yeah, there's like a 5-year gap between when Usual Suspects and The Way of the Gun comes out. Then another 8 years after that, we get Valkyrie. Well, I guess what? He's a writer.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, writer, yep.
See? So I don't know if it's Scientology or not. Maybe they are just good friends. Good for him. I love Tom.
I do too.
Dude, I'm serious. I've said it before. I think that man, yes, crazy, sure. But am I entertained by this man? Absolutely.
Every time he's in a movie, I'm like, I don't care. Tom Cruise is in it. It's probably going to be good.
100%.
So, I want to harken back a little bit. Do you think this story, given to a better director, better filmmaking crew, do you think this story would have? Could this have been better if it was done better? Would this have like popped off even more?
I was just going to say that. That's something I had been thinking about, Casey. Like if you gave this to, I think
Nolan.
because somebody that can. It's this story like the story itself is cool. You just need somebody with like a better vision of like how it should be kind of laid out and presented to make it actually feel cool and interesting versus just watching, the tape go from one reel to the other. That's kind of how I felt with it.
Well, it goes like we had mentioned it just in chat before, but that the director of Looper or whatnot sent the Looper script to this guy because he was such a fan of Primer, and then the director Shane or whatever came back at him and goes, "Your time travel's all wrong." It's like thanks, but I mean, but like if I have to put like, hey, could you make my movie better? I bet that director could make his movie better because I visually love Looper, and I wasn't super. I don't know. I didn't deep dive into the time travel and if it should or shouldn't make sense at this point. I mean, I've seen the Avengers; they did it perfectly. So no, I don't know. I feel like they could have done it better. But if what they were trying to do to like, I think Casey, your point earlier was just dive right in, don't dumb down the conversation, and just accept that this is possible. And then I don't know, they did a good job. And then I don't need to know more, and that's the whole point.
Yeah, I want to loop back to that point that Casey had, and I think that I took this from Wikipedia and something I wanted to share from Reddit. I know, but it's actually really cool. So Carruth says he intended the central theme to be the breakdown of Abe and Aaron's relationship as a result of their inability to cope with the power afforded by this technological advancement, and I see that, and I think that's there. But I really loved what this said. This is user ad sex in the Primer subreddit. So he says, to me, the point of the movie is to question trust and commitment. As long as you keep a running connection towards the past, that is, the failsafe boxes, you actually keep a connection to the future. While this seems obvious once it's written, it's precisely what Aaron and Abe failed to understand. They saw it as a way for them to fix the past and ignored the fact that anything coming from the future might affect them. What reasons could they have to tell anyone else about it? What reasons could they have to come back and mess with things? These are actual dialogue in the movie. Commitment and trust have no predictive value. Commitment and trust can only be viewed as tokens of the past. With time travel, a breach in your friendship 20 years from now might result in you being killed right now. I just thought that was so cool that...
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Jamie, are you going to kill us?
It's cool. I built a failsafe.
Perfect.
Right, but I just think that's such a unique time travel concept, right? You just build this, you can only go back as far as you knew how to do it. And so, like, what is he at the end? He's like building a warehouse size one of it, so what he can transport entire armies of people back and forth. Like, he's going to manipulate the entire world. Like, that's crazy.
I know, that struck me too. I was like, what would you do with a warehouse sized box?
Isn't it enough to like play the market and, you know, make your millions? But no, I think clearly he had, and that's the other crazy stuff that happens too, because like by the end of the movie, they both had doubles because they had used, the only time they would make a double is by using the failsafe. That's how I understand it, right? Because all the other times they waited and traveled back and didn't overlap. But by using the failsafe, there's like that creates multiples. And then I'm fairly certain when one of them did a failsafe, they like made more of them. Like they brought boxes back with them in the box to like assemble and create more. So I think at one point, what's his not Abe? Shoot, I'm awful
Aaron?
with names. Yeah, at some point, Aaron I think had gone and done that because I think it's to insinuate he's on his like by the time. The entire movie, he's probably like the third or fourth time he's gone back, and he like has been recording all these conversations. So I don't know. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was one. Okay, so that's the part that I think initially that I didn't fully understand, Casey. I was like, I don't think I know how many doubles are on. I didn't know if the doubles, like, because that's the yeah. So like for when Jamie mentioned the cell phone thing, and like I agree, I was very much like, oh wow, cool. Like that is definitely something I was not thinking of. But also then when the first time you get the glimpse of, wait, are there doubles? And they kind of, I feel like they hint or mention it where, wait, so now that they went back in time one time and they have the doubles exist, like, cool, it worked. But then by the second time, like, can't the doubles, since they know what is happening, like, they're like, hey, there's two of us, I'll deviate from the plan. Like, I don't know if they're not.
It depends on the double, right? The original double that he hides in his attic is just original him who has no idea what time travel is. This dude is completely oblivious, right? Because this was before he, you know, ran into Abe on the bench and Abe told him what he'd done. So he's just oblivious. But you're right. I think I think there's a scene there. He talks about he ran into one of his other box. I think the video is funny. The YouTube video, I recommend watching it at some point. They call them box aware, you know, Abes, or whatever. And I think at one point, box aware, two box aware Aarons run into each other, and he even says like, I tried to fight him, but by then I had traveled so much that I was weary. So we like talked it out, and they like the younger, less time traveled Aaron, like the most early box aware Aaron, I guess must have realized like, oh shit, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna go live my own life so you don't kill me because you're clearly like 8 iterations down the line and way into this, and I don't want to go be that, so bye. So like I think there's probably 3 or 4 Aarons in the world at that point in time towards the end of the film.
I went into this pod thinking that I'm going to need a lot of help just trying to get little facts and details of this movie, because this is the part I still get confused when you explain it. I tried watching that YouTube video too, and then and I was like,
oh yeah. And I think, well, in the YouTube, and it actually gets back to the fact that it is such a short film. I think you're meant to watch it like 4 times to really get it.
Yeah.
Because it's short. I think you're supposed to eat it over and over, because every time you watch it, like once you realize that it's the same one on the bench and he isn't watching NCAA, he's actually listening to that same conversation to know what he had said. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Once that clicks, you're like, oh shoot, I want to go watch that again now with that knowledge. And like you slowly start to be able to go backwards and pick it up and put together the pieces. That's one of the coolest things to think about is technically from that bench scene on, like you have no idea which Aaron you're actually dealing with.
Right.
Period.
Yeah, I did catch on to that. I watched it a second time today. So that's where because after the first time I had absolutely no fucking clue like what was going on. I was just lost, but I just powered through it.
Yeah, and I hope that, well, not hoped. I knew Casey was going to deep dive into YouTube, so I was just going to wait to have this conversation, and then, I'll watch that clip you're talking about so I can go, oh.
Did you say that was the same one that I shared in the pod
The one
chat?
you posted in the chat is the one I watched.
Okay.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And for anyone listening, if you really want to get it, it's on YouTube. Just search Primer Illustrated Explanation. And honestly, I think I stumbled upon this YouTube video just on Reddit years ago even, and thought, oh yeah, I should watch that once I actually watch Primer. So I think this is like the de facto, oh, are you confused? Come watch this. We'll explain it.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job in it. But I failed to watch it all because I just I don't anything with this movie, I feel like when I started watching I started getting a headache. So
did your ears start bleeding?
Stop watching things on your phone.
No.
James, what's the most offensive movie to you that you could watch on your phone?
Tenet? No, just kidding. Actually, I would say Interstellar. Like, there's no way you would be able... I feel like you can't watch it on your phone or you'd miss something. I feel like the movie is too big.
I watched it on my phone.
God, I hate you so much.
But are subsequent rewatches on a phone okay once you've seen it like on a big TV or something and appreciated it?
That's fine. That's how I wrap my head around Chad. Like, I'm assuming Chad watched this on a normal screen, and then when he tells us, I watched it for a second time today, I assume that's on his phone. And then, Jamie, were you expecting me to say Casablanca?
No, I was expecting Nolan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like, I don't know, like, I think Interstellar, I think Inception, I don't know, like, just these movies that were created for IMAX viewing, Dark Knight, like, you're right, they're all Nolan, but, like, all these IMAX viewing anticipated movies where it's like, how are you watching this on your phone? Because even the storylines are supposed to be bigger than life, and God, it's just watching on your phone, I just don't I feel like you'd miss so much, even though that's probably not totally true, but I feel like you would.
Watching on the phone, though, is that your screen is so crisp. Like, so. But
that's true. My phone is probably better quality than my TV. That's a good point, Chad.
So,
you just need a really big phone now. If this is if this is your life now, most of your consumption is going to be on your phone. You probably just got to get one of those XL size phones, right?
No.
Like mini tablets, phablet in your pocket.
I would actually downsize my phone when I need to get a new phone.
Not to change the subject, because I did just get a new phone because my old one pooped out on me, and I just ordered one willy nilly because I needed one. You know, your life sucks without a working phone. So I just ordered one that I knew I think I'd like because I'm an Android guy. And it's smaller than my old one. And I'm actually kind of happy with it. I'm glad I went a little bit smaller. So there you go. There's your anecdotal evidence that, don't go bigger unless you really want to.
Unless you want to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do we exhaust our conversation? Wait, there were some questions here in the chat that I wanted to go over. Did you put these in, Jamie? Was this you?
Yeah, I think that was me.
Yeah, I said it's like a dark Hallmark movie. But so can you who are our ambassadors of science, and should it be their job to help us understand what they are saying? Can you expound on that?
Yeah, so I put that in the chat because, as I said, this movie was equal parts fascinating and frustrating because they didn't dumb it down. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have to, but I'm saying somebody should. You know, and for me, I remember in high school, I sucked at physics. Like in high school and college, I had to cheat off of my friends, like shamelessly, which sucked because I loved physics. I loved it. I loved expanding my mind into everything it was trying to teach me, but I just didn't understand it. And I felt that in all of my academia, my physics teachers were the worst teachers. They may have been the most brilliant minds, but whatever that teaching gene is, they just didn't have it. So it made me think of like our Neil deGrasse Tysons, our Carl Sagans, who can actually teach science and make it digestible and approachable. You know, I just, it made me really appreciate those people and how valuable that skill is. But yeah, I wanted to ask you guys, like, should it be their job to teach us and to dumb it down, or should I just read more?
In the context of a film,
I guess
like,
it's just a broad question.
because right. I think that's a double question, right? I think if you're talking about the broad, question, implications of it, that's a whole other thing. But I'm going to stand the film a little bit more. I think the fact that they don't explain it and you're confused was by design. I think the unease that you felt and the confusion you had was all on purpose.
Yeah,
and that's again that feeds to why I rated it higher than. It's not a movie that I loved, right? I probably won't watch it again, but I think as a standalone in a vacuum work of art, I think it's one of a kind, it's unique, and it, like, thinking about all the ways that, like, it affected us, albeit negatively, it affected us, and isn't that what art, I guess, is supposed to do? So I'm going to keep standing up for it, because I think all of our criticisms actually are compliments to how it invoked the responses that it wanted to invoke.
Yeah,
Casey's
I mean,
pro art.
Yeah, this is where I love art, and I fucking sometimes I can't stand the artist.
Same.
But that's great. But I think, again, it's like the pretentiousness of it. Like, well, we didn't want to dumb it down for. Okay, that's like, I'm out, dude. Okay, whatever. That's how you're gonna explain it. Whatever. Like, if that's how you want to go ahead with your film, your project, like your piece of art, that's fine. But when people come back at you and say that it's hard to understand, like, I mean, for me, like, I need that YouTube video. I need somebody else to understand it for me. So I guess somebody figured it out. I just wasn't smart enough, or they watched it more than me.
The one that just stood up for it, I agree with all of that, dude. Yeah. I agree. It's super pretentious. But I mean, that's why the dude probably didn't continue making movies, because he just wanted to do it for the sake of the art of creating this thing. And he did, I think, what he wanted, and he was like, all right, well, that's it.
Yeah, that's where I'm with Jamie. It's like, I didn't enjoy watching it,
right?
But I think it's something that I would recommend somebody to watch if you're into, like, time travel. Even though you say it's not a time travel movie.
I agree. I know. No, you're right.
When you're manipulating, time.
I was going to say, flux capacitor.
I was going to say, I think it's similar to me with, like, Requiem for a Dream. Like, I will probably never watch that movie again.
Right. Nope.
But holy cow, did it, like, evoke feelings and emotions and thoughts. So I guess I would put it on that pedestal. That and the movie Pi. I don't know if you've seen the movie Pi.
Yeah, I love
Same
that.
Director.
Was also confusing. Yeah, you're right. Very confusing, weird, dark. I don't think I need to see it again, but wow, was it, like, did it do something? Like, did it move me in a way? So I'm going to put it in that realm, but I agree. I didn't love it. I didn't like watching it particularly, but I think, it's impressive.
Man, we're gonna have to do Requiem for a Dream on here when we want to bite the bullet.
Oh no!
Like, I know, but like, yeah. So hold on, Casey and I have seen it. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay,
I haven't. I've avoided it for that exact reason.
James. Yeah, you're too pure. You're too pure, Jamie. It's fine. And then, Jamie, to piggyback off your science question, I mean, I agree with everything you guys are saying, but I like a little bit of context behind the science, just because then I feel like I can enjoy the movie better. So in Interstellar, I think Chris said it on the Interstellar pod one time, that when he flipped the board around and tries to explain how a wormhole works, and it's like, pushes the pencil through the piece of paper on the other side and then unfolds the piece of paper. I think they did that in Event Horizon too. Like, I think that's how I learned how a black hole works. But that's the thing, is I'm getting that piece of knowledge. I'm like, they dumb it down in this basic way, and it usually, hopefully, takes 30 seconds. And then I'm more on board to pay attention to the storyline with better knowledge. Like, Casey, until you told me exactly what was happening in the box, and like I kind of got it in there, but then I started questioning myself, and then so if I would have had that explanation, some just slightly better, I feel like I'd been like, okay, wait, now which Abe is that? That's only one Abe. That's Abe 1. Okay, I would have started counting the errands, but I guess that's part of the fun in the movie is you are getting shocked and surprised. But I don't know. I feel like a little small explanation of the science would have been helpful.
Yeah, just enough. Like I would even say the demonstration of how to explain a black hole like isn't really dumbing it down. You don't need to really know all the other science behind it. If that's like a way to like visualize it, I think that's just kind of like a creative way to, you know, tell somebody or explain something to somebody to something that's really complex and like, you know, without having to do with all the details behind it. But yeah, I'm with you there, James. I think if that's the route that this film wanted to go, I think if I were doing it, because I'm an awesome filmmaker, right, and script writer, but yeah, I think I would at least give some sort of. And they tried a little bit when they're talking about like the loop, like when it rebounds back or whatever, but it's not.
But I found I got confused about even non-time travel plot points from time to time. Like, who is this boyfriend with a shotgun? Like, who's going to a party? What are you talking about? So
Yeah,
I think those are all valid bits of criticism.
Yes.
I think you look at Interstellar, which is a 3-hour movie, which has the exposition needed, and then you look at this, which is an hour, and I guess as a filmmaker, you have a choice. Do I give it as exposition and make my movie longer or not? And I think they chose to do it that way, but I think it kind of proves that maybe the time and the exposition is worth it for me, a dum-dum who doesn't know what's going on.
Is that where like Primer feels like a 3-hour movie?
Yeah, it kind of did, but it was really short.
So true. The closest they get.
That's a good way to say it.
No, that's so true. I was clock checking for most of this movie, and I was like, fuck, we're only 45 minutes in.
Right?
But I think the closest they get is when they're talking to that lab tech and they're describing the proteins and how the proteins accumulate. And yeah, I mean, like you guys just said it. It's like, okay, that tells us that they created a time machine and it's accumulating proteins quicker than it normally would. How unsexy and unshiny and undELOREan is that?
But actually, I want to jump on that because that might have been part of my favorite part of the movie was he does all that, and here I am set up to think, oh, okay, so he's going to say this box can make things travel in time, whoop-de-doo, and then he does the whole, look, there I am, and I know we talked about that being one of the cool moments, but I thought that was great because that was a super bait and switch to me. I thought they were just going to keep looking at this stupid egg, and then he goes, psych, I got in a box and traveled back in time. So I thought that was a really cool like reveal to kind of show how it, right? I thought that was really cool. And I think they kind of maybe dropped the ball on explaining things for the rest of the film because you're right, I kind of knew what they were talking about, kind of like, oh, these proteins happened, which means time was different in the box. Cool, you explained that. Oh shit, there he is. But then from then on, it felt like they just tried to confuse more than explain.
You mean like how I was wondering how they were getting out of the box without goo on them? That's what I thought was going to happen.
Great question.
I thought that's what the whole explanation of the proteins was. I'm like, I don't get it. So
is that why his ear was bleeding? They were like getting some kind of fungal infection
there
in their brain,
maybe.
And like those.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. That's what Shane's listening to our podcast right now. Just he's screaming. He's like, "You didn't talk about the proteins. The proteins were they were the heart of this movie. Explains everything."
Anything else? Anything else for Primer? Are we ready to get into our movie scripts?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Okay. I think James should go last because he put a lot of time into his and it sounds pretty epic. So who wants to volunteer?
Yeah.
I mean, you put in all this time, 5 minutes before bed, and stuff.
Well, I'm just saying, Shane, if you're listening, batter up. I've just been torching your movie for the last hour, and now it's like I have some gold here.
Right now, you just get to shred somebody's like art. Like You fucking
So I'm
can't
excited
even,
for our
come
listeners to
close
shred
it.
my art.
Yes.
So Chad, you said you didn't come up with anything, or no, you said you did.
No, I did. Well,
Chad, you start us up.
I'll start off. Yeah, so I couldn't think of like a full script. But I did say, well, I don't really have them, but I want to share an idea that I had for like something that would be like a Twilight Zone Black Mirror episode that would be kind of like comedy too, so not like dark. But yeah, I was trying to think when it comes to time travel. I was trying to think of like how would you script like a time travel film, but not tell it from the point of view of like the people that are traveling in time, but like the impact of the people, um, like not from the people like that are time traveling, if that makes sense. So it'd be like all of a sudden like a person wakes up and something is completely different because somebody had fucked with time, or that's where my mind was going. I couldn't really think anything through on that, or so.
So
Yeah,
your
I stumped
protagonist
myself.
would be Crispin Glover, George McFly, not Marty.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
So I know this is just your rough idea, but would you have Crispin Glover then know that time travel is potentially happening around him? Like where all of a sudden he's like, holy shit, my wife is thin. This is
Right.
amazing. Who do I have to thank? Hey, Marty, thanks, buddy.
Right. Well,
or does he not know what's happening?
Well, you kind of somehow you slowly start to inform your protagonist that this is happening. But
or,
yeah,
or I was gonna say, or is it from the viewer's perspective? Is it's a Black Mirror episode? Things are changing in the episode, but to this character, but we don't understand what's happening, and then we find out that it's because his best friend has been time traveling and just fucking things up.
yeah, that would be cool. Or actually, in the end, you find out that your main character has been time traveling, but has been fucking with himself. I don't know. Anyway, or it's double.
I like it.
But I did have this was like a pandemic inspired idea for like a Twilight Zone Black Mirror esque kind of like a 15-minute like kind of short, but it's like from sitting on all these like Zoom calls, with work, and like you just see like people in like these, maybe it's like their wall, like maybe they're in the corner of their room, looks like maybe they're in their bedroom. And then we had like conversations once at work about like, oh yeah, if you need to go into the office, just email whatever the director and like get like just so I could tell security, and then you can come down to the building or whatever and get in. Then I imagine like, oh yeah, what if like I actually went to headquarters and I go to my old desk and all of a sudden I see everybody still at work. Like if I show up without getting like notifying security, and like I walk in, or like the character in this story walks in, and all of a sudden like I see one of my coworkers, which looks like their desk now, their cube has been like made to look like a room, and there's like it looks like there's like a kitchen or something like that, or like a matte painting of something where it's like a bedroom, or like I don't know. Are you picking up on this or not? Does this not sound stupid and silly?
I lost you a long time ago.
Okay. Right.
Dude, you just spooked me though. Like if I were to go into the office right now and yeah, they were like, where were you? Like we've been here the whole time.
Right, yeah. Anyhow, let's Jamie, did you come up with anything?
So this is a perfect place for me to go right in the middle because mine is really dumb. I don't have a good idea, but I was thinking that what's a subgenre with time travel that we haven't had yet? Sports. So we could do a sports movie. And then I was thinking about the movie Time Machine, not the original, but the Guy Pearce remake, and one of the tragically, comically hilarious.
The Morlocks are so bad. Otherwise, the movie has a lot of potential.
So bad.
When she gets run over by like the horse carriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and that's what spurred my idea. Is like the idea of that movie is like no matter how many times his wife is gonna die, so she just like gets killed in like these 3 or 4 ridiculous ways. And I was like, what if you took a Red Sox fan pre-2004 and a Red Sox player, like what if you took Bill Buckner and took him back to what was that, the 86
Oh yeah, the
playoffs.
ball. Yeah.
Yeah. And just made Bill Buckner relive that. But he was like, okay, I know what happens. I know where that ball is going. So he fields it. But then, they lose in extra innings anyway. Like, what if they keep going back?
Right.
And then that Red Sox player or fan realizes actually they're in hell, That was that was it.
I like that horror movie style.
I would like that as the reveal, right? That, oh, no, you're not traveling time.
Right.
You're just in an infinite loop of hell. Groundhog's Day on acid.
When
Exactly.
you first said sports, I was like, oh, this would be like a great story for like a Vikings fan.
Yeah, perfect example.
Isn't it what we live every day, every year?
Right.
Are we living it already?
Minnesota sports hell.
Like every time it's like wide left, wide left, wide left,
Oh, my heart.
or 12 men in a huddle.
Criminy.
But
So I'm going to take
Casey.
Yeah, I'm
save
going
us.
to take a turn. No, it's not a save, but it's going to take a turn. My idea, it's going to get real silly, real weird up in here. I want a Pineapple Express type stoner movie where main character, goes to buy some pot. Something goes wrong, like he gets robbed by his drug dealer or something, something to that effect. Like the dude, maybe he's visiting a new drug dealer. The dude robs him. He's pissed. He's mad about it. It's like the next day, and he just runs into someone who's like, hey, I know how to travel back in time. And for some reason, this dude's like, I'm going to go back and fix that problem. So he goes back in time, right? And this is the premise of the movie. Goes back in time, puts on a disguise, thinking, well, I don't want my past me to see me. Goes in, whole situation goes awry, and he tries to explain his way out, saying, no, I'm him from the future. And so the drug dealer, being a sadistic son of a bitch, is like, oh, if that's you, then if I cut his dick off, you'll lose your dick too. And so he does it, and it happens. And the rest of the movie is the two dickless dudes trying to go back one more step so they can stop themselves from losing their dick.
I'm in.
when you said time travel and something that was like a Pineapple Express movie, the first thing that came to my mind was that where you smoke the weed and the weed
That takes you back in time.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And like it takes you back in time, but then when you start coming down, right? Then you start
go
going back.
back.
Yeah.
And you're too stoned back in time to actually do anything. There you go, Chad. You should have come up with that one. That's
Right.
a brilliant idea as well.
My main goal in doing these is that I think we should all come together and actually write a script and try to sell it.
Well, as long as we can get Seth Rogen to read these, the time traveling dickless dudes, or the smoking a joint back into time. As long as he reads those treatments,
you would need to get who the next Seth
the movie
Rogen
could be
is.
called Time Dick. It could be like Private Eye, right? But it's actually about a penis.
Yes.
I feel like you guys aren't wrong in the sense that this is exactly how Seth writes movies.
Yup.
That's probably this is exactly how Kevin Smith writes movies. with what was it, Moose Hunter or whatever those movies were called, the Canadian ones.
Yoga
Tusk.
hosers.
Yoga hosers.
So needless to say, my time travel movie falls into Back to the Future style of time travel, where you can affect the future by going in the past. So it falls in that vein of time travel.
Cool.
Clearly, right? Not like Avengers. You go back in time, make a new timeline, split timelines. Because then, old dude would get his dick cut off and nothing would happen. End of movie. That's boring.
Yeah, so yours is more like butterfly effect style. You're trying to get to one more step previous, and then all of a sudden more chaos ensues. Now their asses are sewn shut, and they have scarred over. Oh, God.
Exactly. Wait, is this another Centipede movie too, then?
I was going to say, it sounds too Centipede for me. I'm out.
Gross.
Yeah. I've never watched those movies. I've just heard rumors.
Yeah, same here.
They're not fun.
But if you want to watch Requiem for a Dream, we're all in. Just kidding.
All right. The grand finale.
Oh my God. I hate this build-up. It sucks so bad. Okay. So like I said, so if you guys want, if you scroll to the bottom of the page, I just copied and pasted it. So if it's easier to follow that way, or because there's a little bit going on, if you know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, awesome. That's a good idea.
Okay. So, anyways, I'll preface with, I was like 5 minutes before bed every night. I think I started last Saturday, maybe during coffee. That's why the first line of it is the only way to accept someone is casually in a relaxed, informal way or on a plane, because I thought it was funny to me at the time. And then I'm like, okay, I'm leaving everything on the table. I'll correct a few things here and there and try to make it make sense. But I don't know. At the end of this, you're going to have to tell me if it either made sense, you understood, or if it is even linear, because I am not positive on any of those things. Because I started just throwing ideas in there. Anyways, I'll go for it. Here we go. Hypnagogia is the experience of the transitional state between wakefulness and sleep in humans. The hypnagogic state of consciousness during the onset of sleep. Mental phenomena that occurs during this threshold consciousness phase includes lucid thought, lucid dreaming, hallucinations, and sleep paralysis. Prologue. The only way to accept someone is casually in a relaxed, informal way or on a plane. You know when you start singing a random song and stop to ask yourself, where did that come from? Why the hell is that in my head? Then later come to realize it's playing faintly in the background. This is the only way Inception can work. Only we're not trying to implant an idea in someone else's mind, like in the movie. I am trying to implant knowledge into my subconscious to use in the future. So instead of chapters, I just did the beginning. And each chapter starts with some sort of quote. So, beginning. There are children playing in the streets who could solve some of my top problems in physics because they have modes of sensory perception that I lost long ago. J. Robert Oppenheimer. The guy who did, the H-bomb.
Is he, not to interrupt, but...
No, go for it. Please do.
I think it was Oppenheimer. The thing that triggered his thought to actually find out, like, oh, that's what we need to trigger, like, the atom bomb, is that he was, like, standing in line, or not standing in line, standing and, like, waiting for a traffic light to turn, and he was just seeing, like, the light change from, like, red, or whatever, red, yellow, green. Like, that was, like, the moment, just staring at that traffic light that triggered, like, oh, that's the switch to, like, the trigger, like the nuclear bomb or whatever. But anyway, I always love that story.
That's awesome. I never heard that story, so that's awesome. It takes a lot of energy to move something small through space and time. We started our work in Iceland and harnessed the sun's energy with the Earth's. Using geothermal and hydroelectric power, as well as solar wind satellites, we could create the perfect storm of positive charged deuterons and negatively charged antiprotons to create energy clusters in the form of helium. This process was created because helium-3 is rare to find on Earth, and the world's governments frowned upon us drilling on the moon for it. Something about harvesting the moon could be catastrophic. It could have catastrophic repercussions. If you guys haven't figured out, I just took like bits of all of the things we always talk or had talked about on the podcast. Anyways, okay, so when we were on the brink of draining the world of known oil reserves, uranium became legal for less than a year, encouraging colleges and outside resources to use it for energy projects that would then be purchased by the government. But instead, it was used by people with carnival meth lab ideals. More people were getting hurt than saved. Fortunately for me, being forced to create clean energy technology to save the world meant government contracts. One contract had something interesting to offer. Beyond the money I no longer needed. This offer gave me purpose, something bigger than myself. I've created the power source needed to charge what would be called the event. All right, the story. Why sometimes I believed in as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. I can't go back to yesterday because I was a different person then. Lewis Carroll, the writer of Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
And Through the Looking Glass.
Jabberwocky.
You got it, dude. All right. I was told my mother imagined me as a baby elephant growing inside her when she was pregnant. My grandmother said I was much larger than average, and elephant calves are usually born at about 250 pounds and 3 feet tall. They are pretty clumsy for about 3 months after they are born and have hardly any control of their trunks, which is why they often trip over them. This silly image helped my mother cope with the discomfort I was causing during her pregnancy. As cute as my family thought it was hard receiving stuffed animals in storybooks involving an animal that had become a symbol of how my mother saw me when all I could see was a reminder that she died giving birth to me. My father was the one who helped me get past this feeling sorry for myself, to have a utilitarian outlook that I should only control what I can control. And now that I'm here, I should focus my energy on the happiness of the greatest number of people. I eventually was able to take that symbol I didn't ask for and make it the symbol I needed as a daily reminder. As they grow up, the working elephant memorizes a large number of commands and recognizes many other animals and people, thus remembering both kindness and injuries. Since its lifespan is 50 to 60 years, these memories are long lived. I didn't know it then, but this was the start of my training. I read I read this story about a 2-year-old named Lee from the Midwest insisting that his mommy wasn't his mommy, that he had another house somewhere and another mommy. By age 3, he was able to articulate his real birth date, June 26th, from the one given by his birth parents, June 21st. That his middle name was Ko, and he wrote movies for a living. His sister asked how old he was when he died, and he promptly replied 48. Lee's curious parents relayed the titles of several movies to Lee, asking if he had written them. When they mentioned Gone with the Wind, Lee became enthusiastic. He eagerly claimed that he wrote the film. A quick Google search, Lee's parents learned that the writer of Gone with the Wind's name was Sidney Coe Howard. Howard was born on June 26, had a daughter named Jennifer, and passed away at 48. As these details in Coe's life were unknown to Lee's parents, it's unclear how he knew them. This leaves reincarnation as a possible explanation. The event that I agreed to participate in and my technology would power is to successfully pre-incarnate. The only way to do this without hurting anyone is for a person to travel back in time to a younger version of themselves. After conditioning the mind, the theory would be that one could hijack the path of one's destiny that was originally given, as the soul taking over would be wiser and more knowledgeable about what is to come. The brain wouldn't be as developed and would lose a lot. You'd lose a lot in the transfer, but your mind and muscle memory should be fairly intact. And in time, will adapt to itself to choose the right decision, not taken the first time. This is how we would change the past. As the team of doctors and scientists are getting me ready for the jump, they don't seem to be paying any attention to me. They are very focused on what they are doing, but giving me very little eye contact with no small talk or any real connection. They are, however, talking amongst themselves. When I was eavesdropping, I heard a few of the men in white talk about another person participating in the event, someone named Samad Artisan. I didn't know how Samad was. I didn't know who Samad was or why they were chosen for this project. And not only did I create the technology to make this possible, but my photographic memory also makes me a prime candidate for this task. It sounded like Samad suffered from severe gout, which had developed into edema. That doesn't sound right. They're messing with me. I had been on a strict diet and under a microscope like Mercury 7 style. Did they say 16th century? That can't be right. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Maya Angelou. The gravity is punishing, going faster and faster as I reach the zero horizon. I can't help but think this is what people will see before they die. Ahead is the remnants of light that cannot escape what we've created. A submissive black hole, quantum vortex, time machine. In the end, this will only have a name and a name for a series of moments that will be ripped away until the moment they are remembered again. Closer to the light now, I must be close. For some reason, I'm reminded of when I was a kid. I was so fascinated with time travel, dark matter, and simulation theory. I remember asking my dad if people are watching us from a screen. My father was dumbfounded then, yet I have been monitored from a screen for the last 2 years preparing for this event. I guess one time I asked, how do we know that we're conscious and not living in a never-ending hallucination? How can I even be sure you're my father, or that I'm even speaking to you and not sitting in an empty room drooling and talking to myself? My father used to entertain these ideas and questions. He would say a quote from one of his favorite books to say goodnight after one of my brain's tired lucid conversations. You know that place between sleep and awake, that place where you can still remember dreaming? That's where I will always love you. That's where I will be waiting. He was good like that. The light is getting brighter and brighter. My body is feeling more sore and claustrophobic as the gravity is push and pulling on me. I must be close. It feels like I'm going down the hill of a tall roller coaster fast, with the pins and needles feelings that your arms and legs get when they are asleep. Suddenly, a blinding flash. It's hard to see right away. When my eyes pull focus, I can see the men in white again. Something must have gone wrong. Did they abort? What happened? Everything seems like it was going well. I feel nauseous, but that must be normal. The doctors are running around frantically, so something must have happened. I try to look around the room, but I can't move my neck. Now the doctors are paying attention to me, giving me the old flashlight in the eye, snap of the fingers in my ear physical. I can hear the doctors working on someone behind me. I wonder if something happened to Samad, and had to pull us both out. I am startled by a powerful jolt, followed by weightlessness. I don't understand what is happening at this moment. I close my eyes to help with the motion sickness while I'm getting tossed around. The movement has changed. My body feels tight, but I am feeling calmer and a little tired. The nausea has passed, and I open my eyes. I can see the doctors working on someone. There's a lot of blood everywhere. Samada appears to be a woman. I'd never seen medical equipment in this room before. They must have brought it in during complications. Samad looks familiar. Why do I know her? Why do I still not have any control of my body? My body is repositioned one more time without my assistance. This time, my head was facing up. At first, all my eyes could see was a silhouette in front of me with some blinding fluorescent lights. Once my eyes adjusted, I could see who was in front of me. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. I tried shouting, but he couldn't hear me. Finally, I cried, "Dad?" Question mark. Dad? But all he could hear was a high-pitched cry. Epilogue. Because his brain isn't fully developed as an infant, he will not be able to understand what he was sent back to do and is confused. Missing his time stop has ultimately led him to not change the past, but potentially caught himself in a time loop. Unless Inception is possible, too bad he wasn't traveling on a plane. Done.
Dude.
Okay, so yeah, it kind of, as you can tell, goes all over the place, and so you talk amongst yourselves or ask questions, and then I can answer where I thought I was going, or did any of it make sense?
I mean, you did it. Chad gave us homework, and you actually did it.
Like I said, my wife made a lot of fun of me for this. She's like, "Ooh," so she hasn't even. You guys were the first ones to actually hear it or see it, so.
That was fantastic.
So he's just like trapped in like a memory loop then? Like essentially?
So I think where I was trying to go with this idea was that like instead of having doubles, somehow they figured out time travel in the sense that they can go back in time to a certain memory. So I was trying things that I didn't choose to keep writing and just left it alone was I feel like I was trying to connect it where when they were having lucid dreams, so like when he was having lucid dreams as a kid, or if he remembers heard those stories, like those were actually like the dreams of like, are people watching me? Like that's where he was actually having like flashbacks of like what had already happened.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the idea that when also from the beginning to the end when he was traveling in time or traveling back, like he missed his time stop and therefore he ended up at his birth. So what he thought was him going in like some sort of time travel, like black hole style situation, or like it's like, this is what dying must feel like. I'm heading towards this light. It's actually, no, he's heading towards the light of being born.
Yeah.
And then in turn being in this ultimate time loop where like, could he not remember everything that was going on or what he was going to eventually do, which who knows what that was. In the future to change things, like, is it too far back where like now he's just going to grow up the exact same way? He was already looking at his mother dying once again during birth, the birth of him. And it's just going to be this ultimate like, hey, I'm going to go do this. I'll still create this awesome clean energy situation, but then I'm going to be all excited about this time travel and I will miss my loop and keep doing this over and over and over again. Or will he could somehow muscle memory or change things based on just having those flashbacks or thoughts during dreams or whatnot.
Cool.
I don't know.
I love it.
and then I was trying to do with the pre-incarnation or whatever is like some sort of reincarnated, like, that's what it was. if you do Samad's character, if you do Samad Artson backwards, it's Nostradamus, and that's why I remember after did I say 16th century? Yeah, when I did 16th century, I was like, I feel like I had more there, and that's when I went to sleep and I forgot to add anything. But yeah, it was like I was trying to do like where like that fucking Samad guy is insane. like I don't know.
I used to be obsessed with Nostradamus.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then the only thing linking the elephants was the idea that an elephant never forgets. So hopefully that was like I was trying to do something with that and I lost it, and somewhere in the mix of that too.
Damn.
But yeah. Once I had an idea, either like the story about the little boy, that's a true story, I guess I found online when I was trying to figure out reincarnation stuff. And then the elephant thing was like, that's all like fun facts. And then that's where we're at. Oh, and then I think the not the world government thing. Oh, the energy stuff. I took from the Iceland, because Iceland has their own like geothermal energy. Like they're like, isn't Iceland like 100% carbon free or whatnot?
I think are like pretty close. That's all. Yeah.
Casey, like I was gonna say, so I think like that was like where I kind of got like that idea from, as far as like where they could get the energy from. And then the helium-3, I can't remember where I found that, but all I read somewhere was they said helium-3 is rare on Earth, but it is available like on the moon. And I'm like, that's good enough for me. It sounds cool. Let's do it. Sweet. And like I don't know what it does.
To the moon.
Right, exactly. Anyways, that was my thing. Yay.
James, have you ever had a lucid dream or sleep paralysis?
Nah, I don't think paralysis, but I definitely have had lucid dreams before, yeah.
Wild. As in, you were, how would you describe that? Like out of body experience kind of thing? Or
like I feel like
it's just dream awareness is lucid dreaming, right? Like aware that you're in your dream.
Yeah, like I wasn't like insidious astroplaning, whatever the hell that was thing. But like I'd say lucid in the sense that like I feel like I am aware, or I feel like if I'm laying in bed, I've felt like where I've gone through the bed to the floor, but like, and then not where I'm like looking at myself, but where I can feel like I'm aware of the actions, even though I know I'm lying there. Or in dreams in general, I think I'm pretty good at conducting the dream. So like if I'm in the middle of something and I like am aware that I'm dreaming, I can usually then depict what I do next.
Wow.
If that makes sense. Like, or I'm like, I'm dreaming. That's awesome. Okay, so let's just fly and let's fight some dragons. Like a normal person would.
Do you guys have internal dialogue?
All day, every day, and sometimes I speak it out loud to myself.
I speak most things out loud, even if it is internal, so.
I'm just asking that because I remember, maybe it was like last year, I was reading some article about how there's like a large percentage of people that don't have internal dialogue, and that just blew my mind.
Oh,
it's like
all the time. I
would go crazy. Yeah, it's cool. Like just listening to you like go through this, it was like giving me like these ideas were like flying through my head. Like, do you ever read anything like into like DNA memory, like where like research where they think like, oh, it's possible for like memory from like our parents and our grandparents being passed down through DNA, and like kind of gets into like historical trauma a bit of it too, but just like some of like these weird memories that you may have or like can actually be passed down through DNA.
Yeah, I've heard some of that in the aspect of like trauma and like race trauma especially.
Yeah.
But also that sounds kind of like what Assassin's Creed, right? They can they go back in time based on the DNA to find the memories.
Yeah.
Right. Or twins. Right. You know what I mean? How they say that identical twins share that bond that's beyond this world.
Oh, not Danny DeVito.
That's
I was like, wait, when did that happen in the movie Twins? I'm so confused. Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah, like we're one twin. Like, I don't know. I think they did in that Haunting of Hill House. Like the one twin died, and the other one's just like, I feel so cold. I feel stiff. Like I don't know what's happening. Like that kind of thing.
Yes, that kind of. Yep.
We did it. Should we close her out?
Let's do it.
All right. Before we go, we want to thank you for downloading this episode of Movie Time Machine. Remember, new episodes drop on Fridays, and please send your questions, comments, and feedback to moviemachinepod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter @moviemachinepod. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.